isn't even an argument. It's like, just go back to school and learn something.
So
it's so absurd.
So teach us, Rabbi.
Proportionality. Is there such a thing?
Well, Israel didn't respond in proportion, meaning we didn't do to them what they did to us. Israel is a real army. They would never do what they did to us in terms of how far they've gone with the atrocities they committed.
Oh, but we killed so many more. What does proportionality mean?
An eye for an eye?
Sounds like, right?
Mm-hmm.
We killed 10,000. The world was quiet. 11,000, everybody said, no, too much. Oh, I'm sorry, we should have stopped at 10,000. This is so ridiculous. What is this, potatoes you're counting here?
You're saying when it comes to proportion, even if you killed 5, if it's not just, if those 5 are not justified, then it's not proportional. Yes. It doesn't matter amount.
Right. So what would justify? If I can achieve peace by killing one person, then I'm not allowed to kill 2. Why should I? The objective is to bring peace. And peace means your enemy is so intimidated, they will not try again for 40 years. That's peace. If they're going to try again in 6 years, you haven't even finished this war.
Where does that, I'm just curious, where does that 40-year barometer come from? Okay.
30 years is also good. But not 6. 6 means you just didn't finish.
Mm-hmm.
You wait like 2-3 generations. The great-grandson doesn't remember the defeat, so he may have the courage to try again. But as long as they remember, they're not going to try again. That's called peace. It's a scary thought. Why was there World War II so soon after World War I?
Right.
With the same people. The Germans. You defeated them just 10 years ago, and they're back at war with the whole world? World War I never finished. Really, you shouldn't even call it 2 wars.
1A, 1B.
And why didn't it finish? Because the German army was defeated. The German people never felt the war. There was no fighting in Germany. Without the internet, without the information highway, the Germans could be convinced that they won World War I. How would they know? If the propaganda chief says, we won, and make a parade, they would never know.
The riot is sort of World War II. Dresden, they felt it.
That's a scary thought. Had they finished World War I, there wouldn't have been World War II. And for us, that means
finish the job.
There wouldn't have been a Holocaust.
Had they finished it. But what does it mean to finish it exactly? Because you can't just carpet bomb Germany.
We did.
In World War II, you're saying.
Right. If you defeat the army, they'll wait 10 years. The teenagers will become old enough, and they got a new army. New and improved. So you haven't finished. Okay, so proportionality means if you can achieve peace by killing 1 person, don't kill 2. If you achieve peace by killing 1,000, don't kill 1,001. But if you will not achieve peace unless you kill 50,000 and you stop at 40, that is so immoral because the 40 died for nothing. And that's your enemy, 40. And then you've got your own. All those people died for nothing because you didn't achieve peace. So proportionality means if you've achieved peace, stop. Not more, but also not less.
And I don't want to conflate for anyone this notion of peace when people have this idea that it's impossible to achieve peace with this particular enemy. Of course, you don't mean peace, negotiated at a table. Peace means the elimination of a threat. Peace means shalom and shalva and sheket.
Who came up with this brilliant insight? Well, you make peace only with an enemy. Who do you make peace with? With an enemy. Sure, after you defeat them. Not while they're shooting at you. But the absurdity of these arguments, it's embarrassing to have to even, every Israeli politician, everybody, over and over answering the question, yeah, we are careful, we're very careful, we don't. And it's so degrading to stoop to that level of conversation.
Well, they're playing, the public relations war, which they're never going to win.
They never won a single bout.
So you're saying just why play it?
Why? Yeah.
Just protect your people. And with what you're saying is that if Hamas, or whether it's Hamas or the PLO, whoever it was at any point, if, like you said, World War I never finished, and certainly over the last 60, 70 years, if these same enemies keep attacking, then they've never been defeated.
Yeah. I remember an interview. Meir Kahane was being interviewed, some news station, and the anchor said to him, "Let me ask you this question. Imagine you own a house, or you lived in a house, and then you go away for 1,000 years, and other people move in. You come back after 1,000 years, and you say it's mine. Get out. How am I supposed to wrap my head around this?" And Meir Kahane said, "I don't care if you don't." Who are you anyway?
You're living in my house.
You can't wrap your head around it? Go back to school. We degrade ourselves.
Even being these conversations.
Yes. You have to justify yourself to a talking head.
This is what's taking place in the halls of power in the secular world, meaning even the president of the free world, the United States, calls on Israel to show restraint. How could you show restraint when you're trying to protect your people?
Right. And proportionality is so absurd because if we really did act proportional, no one would ever win.
It would just be ping pong.
How do you win?
Yeah.
If you're not going to do something more than the enemy,
every game's a tie.
By the definition of victory.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it's so embarrassingly ridiculous. And it's immoral. It's immoral. If you stop before you have war, then whoever you killed, like you said, died in vain.
And that goes for the Israeli soldiers as well.
Of course. What is Jewish morality? Because the other stuff is not moral at all. There's nothing moral about it. It's pure nonsense. So let's take a look. Civilians. Are you allowed to kill civilians? Oh, of course not. No, you're not allowed to kill civilians. What's a civilian? Someone who surrenders. Guy surrenders to you, you're not allowed to kill him. Why? He's not a threat anymore. Why should you kill him? But if he didn't surrender, what makes him a civilian? What makes him a non-threat? Because he's not wearing a uniform.
It would sound like you're saying there are kind of no civilians in the situation.
No, what I'm saying is it's not your responsibility to
discern
identify who your enemy's civilians are. They have to identify themselves, then you don't kill them.
So you're saying according to Allah, a
They
civilian...
have to self-identify by surrendering.
A civilian is someone who surrenders.
Well, or some other way of identifying, but
like when they
I
cross...
I have to vet you and figure out that I'm busy shooting at you, and I have to figure out whether you're a civilian.
Well, when
That's
the Israelis opened up a
ridiculous.
passageway for Gazans to get from northern to southern, they were walking with a white flag. They weren't shot at.
Mm-hmm. So there are two things, actually. If he surrenders or if he's leaving, just wants to leave the country. If he wants to leave the country, he's not a threat. But the point of it all boils down to he's a civilian if he hasn't shot you yet. That makes him a civilian? What are you eliminating here? People who shoot at you? No, you're eliminating people who might shoot at you. You're eliminating a threat. You don't want to live under a threat. So before they shoot at you, they're already not civilians. If they're coming to shoot. Right?
How do you know if someone's going to become a threat or not?
That's right. And it's not your responsibility to figure that out.
It's their responsibility to choose whether they're civilian or not, you're saying.
And identify themselves. Yeah. Even their babies. Somebody has to identify the babies as non-militant.
Well, what's
they're not being used as bait.
So you're saying a human shield is not a civilian?
That's right. The tool of war. Now let's talk about that. It's shocking. When two Arab nations are at war, there are no civilians. Nobody ever talks about civilians. And there are no human shields. Why? Because what would be the point? Only with us, because we keep telling them that we won't shoot civilians, now it pays for them to use civilians as shields. No other nation, no other country ever said, you'll be protected if you hide behind civilians. So they don't hide behind civilians. So it turns out that by saying we won't shoot a civilian, you've put every civilian into danger. We keep telling them.
So it's
not once in a while. Every time a politician gets up to speak, we are very careful. We go very carefully. We check with the legal system to make sure it's not violating any laws. Oh, good. Now we know what to do. And of course, the same is true with hostages. Two Arab countries are at war. They never take hostages.
Why is that?
It won't do them any good.
It's not an effective strategy.
It's not effective.
Right.
The other country is not going to give back prisoners.
Is there, I'm curious, from the Torah lens, is there any halachas pertaining to an exchange of threatening prisoners for innocent lives?
Yeah, there's a famous story of Maharam of Rottenburg, who was arrested, and they were going to ransom him, and he said no. You put every rabbi in danger all over the world.
And is that the correct mahalach?
Yes. How many people are going to die?
Well, you know, it's terrible what happened, but we do know that Yahweh Sinwar was released in the Gilad Shalit deal,
Yes.
and he's the mastermind of this attack. So unfortunately, in this situation, from the Shalit deal, we're able to know exactly how many people were killed immediately, which was thousands.
So even if you do intend to give everything in exchange for, don't announce it. Don't make it a negotiable deal or
Becomes a currency.
Don't tempt them. It's
You're
tempting them to use.
It's incentive to kidnap Jews
Yes.
because they're worth X amount of Arabs.
Yeah. All right. So with non-combatants, there is a halachic approach. You don't kill people who are not a threat. Makes so much sense. It's so moral. Nobody gets hurt. But this crazy interpretation that if he's not wearing a uniform, you're not allowed to kill him, which encourages them to, this is not moral. It's childish. It's literally immature.